Unit 10. Part 1.
Which do you use more often, buses or taxis?
I use buses more often than taxis. Where I live, buses can go anywhere that taxis can, and they are cheaper. So it makes more sense to take buses rather than taxis. That said, I do use taxis when I need to get somewhere as fast as possible. However, these cases are quite rare.
Which do you prefer, public transportation or private cars?
I prefer using public transportation to driving. Buying and maintaining a car costs a lot more than paying for buses and subways. Furthermore, I don't have to concentrate on the road when I take public transport, so it's more comfortable for me.
What is your favorite type of transportation?
I enjoy taking trains the most because they are very fast and never get stuck in traffic jams. Also, train accidents rarely happen, so they are safer than cars or buses. On top of these, unlike other land vehicles, trains have onboard restroom facilities, so they're more convenient as well.
Do you think many people ride bikes in your country?
I don't think a lot of people ride bikes in Korea. I almost never see anyone riding them except in parks and city squares. Besides, I think the roads in my country are generally too dangerous for people to travel by bicycle.
Did you learn how to ride a bike when you were a child?
Yes, my father gave me a small bike for my 8th birthday and taught me how to ride it. At first, I had a hard time keeping my balance, so my father had to attach training wheels to my bike. However, after a lot of practice, I finally learned to ride it without them.
Do you think children should learn how to ride a bike?
I'm sure that learning to do it is a good thing for children. Since riding a bicycle is usually challenging for children, mastering it can boost their confidence. Plus, by practicing riding, children can develop a sense of balance as well.
Is it safe to ride a bike in your city?
I think riding bicycles in my city is dangerous. Although some parts of the city have bike lanes and paths, most do not. Without those, cyclists are dangerously unprotected. On top of that, some motorists drive recklessly, which can be deadly to those on bicycles.
Have you ever taken a long-distance trip by bus or train?
Earlier this year, I visited my family in Busan for the holidays, and I took a bus to get there. Since the route went through the countryside, I got to see a lot of beautiful scenery. The bus was very comfortable, but we got stuck in a traffic jam for more than 8 hours. Consequently, I was really exhausted by the time I arrived.
Part 2. Out of all the countries in the world, the one I want to visit most is France. It's in Western Europe, which is unfortunately quite far from Korea. In fact, the flight from Incheon to Paris takes at least 12 hours. I've always been intrigued by France because of its historical buildings and monuments. Most of the structures here in Korea are quite modern. Aside from that, I'm fascinated by French cuisine. French chefs make some of the world's best dishes, and I want to taste them. All of these things about France really make me want to visit. There are tons of things I want to do in France, but if I get a chance to go there, my first stop would definitely be the Eiffel Tower. I've seen its sparkling lights so many times in movies, but I want to see them for myself. After that, I'd love to stop by the Louvre Museum to check out the Mona Lisa, and then I'd spend some time at a real French bistro. I'd like to try some wine and dessert since both are supposed to be amazing there. Lastly, I want to meet new people there. France attracts many tourists from all around the world, so I might be able to meet all sorts of interesting people. Part 3.
What are the benefits of traveling abroad?
There are multiple advantages to traveling abroad. First, international travel provides an opportunity to broaden your horizons. You not only get to learn about foreign cultures, but you also get to meet people from around the world. Furthermore, it is an opportunity to immerse yourself in a language and improve your skills in it. Since the people around you will be speaking a different language, you'll have no choice but to speak it.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of a long journey?
The positive part about long journeys is that they give you the chance to experience a place more thoroughly, which means you get to see and learn more things. On the other hand, you might only get a glimpse of the place if you're only there for a short time. One of the downsides is that you can sometimes get really lonely. If you're away from your friends and family for a long time, you might start to miss them. You could end up feeling isolated and homesick. Part 2.
There are several journeys that I make on a regular basis, but my trip to work is the first one that comes to mind. I go to my office every weekday, but I sometimes go there on weekends as well if I have work to do. My workplace is in Pangyo, which is an area packed with IT companies. It's kind of like the Korean Silicon Valley. To get to work every morning, I roll myself out of bed when my alarm starts buzzing at 6 a.m. Since I have to be in the office at 8 a.m. sharp, I need to start getting ready this early. When I'm ready, I take the subway to work. The nearest station is about a 10-minute walk from my house, and the entire trip takes an hour. Speaking frankly, I have to say that it's not my favorite trip. That's because I have to stand the whole time as there are no empty seats during rush hour. Due to this exhausting commute, I'm sometimes worn out when I finally arrive at work. But these days, I try to make the time I spend traveling to work more enjoyable by listening to educational podcasts or watching videos in English.
Part 3.
Do people like air travel?
It depends on the individual's preferences, but I think most people enjoy traveling by plane. That's because it's the fastest way to get anywhere. For example, traveling from Korea to Japan takes an entire day by ship, but it's less than 2 hours by plane. In addition, airlines offer great services. Flight attendants take care of all their passengers' needs. Plus, many airlines now offer in-flight entertainment systems with movies, TV shows, and video games.
Why do people want to have their own cars?
I think people purchase cars to save time. If you own a car, you don't have to wait for a bus or the subway, and you don't have to sit through multiple unnecessary stops. Plus, it is far more comfortable to drive your own car. To be specific, when you drive, you don't have to endure crowded buses and subway cars in which you're squashed between strangers.